Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemoration. Today, we are commemorating World Amateur Radio Day in US, which is also referred to as ham radio. World Amateur Radio happens to be celebrated every year on April 18th, and amateur radio, commonly referred to as ham radio, makes use of radio frequency spectrum for non-commercial purposes such as exchanging messages, private recreation, emergency communication, and wireless experimentation and self-training. Federal Communications Commission, FCC, and the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, assign radio frequencies to amateur radio services. These frequencies are used by amateur radio operators to interact with similar people via two-way personal communication. The ITU is responsible for all matters related to information and communication technologies. The transmission's technical and operational characteristics are regulated by national governments that issue licenses with unique identifying call signs to individual stations. These call signs must be used in all transmissions. So amateur radio service was started by the ITU, a special agency of the United Nations, formed on May 17, 1865. Hams is another term for amateur radio operations. The term ham was initially used as a derogatory moniker for amateur radio operators by operators in the commercial and professional radio communication in 1909. The term was quickly adopted by the operators, became ingrained in the lexicon. The phrase, however, did not become widely used in the United States until 1920, after which it gradually spread to other English-speaking countries. International Amateur Radio Union, IARU, was formed by the amateur radio pioneers in Paris on April 18, 1925 to support amateur radio worldwide. It was first discovered by amateur radio experiments that shortwave spectrum could support worldwide propagation. The IARU noted that in the race to exploit these shorter wavelengths, amateur radio was at great risk of being pushed aside. Since its inception, the IARU has worked relentlessly to safeguard and increase amateur radio frequency allocators. Radio amateur can now experiment and communicate in frequency bands strategically positioned through the radio spectrum, thanks to the help of the enlightened administrators all over the world. The IARU has expanded from 25 countries upon its founding in 1925 to 160 member societies in 3 regions. Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and the Northern Asia are all part of IARU region. One region, Region 2 includes the Americas, while the Region 3 includes Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Island nations, and the majority of Asia. The ITU has recognized the IARU as a representing amateur radio interests. Today is also commemorated as Support Teen Literature Day in US. It is celebrated on first Thursday during National Library Week. This year it takes place on April 18th. The day has been celebrated every year since 2007 during National Library Week throughout the US. Since then, the initiative has focused strongly on getting teens back into books and out of trouble. Typically, a love of reading is not established by the age of 15. Greatly reduces the chance that you will develop a passion and regular reading routine in your life. So National Support Teen Literature Day is not just about getting access to books, but also about combating the stigma that young adults like to attach to reading that isn't cool and it's not worth the effort. 1958 was the first year that America celebrated its first ever National Library Week, sponsored by the National American Library Association and the American Book Publishers. The aim was clear. To get people back into libraries and back into reading books. As a national civil asset, libraries are an essential service offered to the general public. If librarians, and the books they keep lose popularity, an entire industry suffers as well as a generation of people who have no interest in books. That's why it's very important to have books because most of the ancient knowledge or the traditional knowledge lies in books. And though there is few efforts that are happening to digitalize the books, but still most of the education happens through paper mode itself. So people are not completely used to online reading or digital reading. It's very important to keep the interest going on. For centuries, however, in 1958, the general popularity of radios, televisions, and musical instruments meant that books and literacy were not getting the level of attention they had enjoyed only a decade earlier. To curb the growing concern that Americans were losing interest in books and libraries, a week was dedicated to raising awareness and appreciating the public institution. And our libraries are fast forward to 2007, when smartphones and social media have begun to take off globally, and the US now finds itself the same predicament that it was back in 1958. So, in 2007, as part of the initiative to specifically target the youth and reinforce positive reading behavior, National Support Teen Literature Day was included in the weekly celebration. Today is also commemorated as Pet Owners Independence Day. This Zani holiday aims to flip the script of the traditional role of pet owners as breadwinners. On this day, all participating pet parents get the opportunity to launch at home while their parents try their paws at working. There are admittedly some logistical issues with the idea. It is unfathomable to imagine a hamster managing company accounting or a cat defending a case in the court. But it does serve a wonderful thought exercise for tired pet owners logging for a break. So humans have had pets for thousands of years. In fact, archaeology suggests a period of 12,000 years and is agreed upon the fact that dogs were first animals to be kept as pets by humans. Ancient Greeks and Romans were known to be openly mourn and the loss of a dog, inscribing tombstones for their lost companions. Ancient Egyptians kept dogs and baboons as pets, often named and buried them with their owners. The modern conception of pet ownership stems from Victorian England. The 17th and 18th centuries bore witness to the gradual rise in the social acceptability of keeping a pet. Pets soon became a sign of elite status as aristocrats began keeping dogs for both hunting and companionship. The rise of middle class post the Industrial Revolution led to pet ownership becoming a part of so-called bourgeois culture. As the popularity of pets rose, the pets trade became lucrative, and the streets of London soon saw vendors selling different breeds. The pedigree of dog also grew in importance as a breed of dog was indicative of its owner's status within the society. Today is also commemorated as National Velociraptor Awareness Day. Steven Spielberg Jurassic Park films turns raptors into legitimate Hollywood superstars during the early 90s. So it gives us a reason to once again ponder this creature that roamed the earth 70 million years ago. Whether they roamed the earth or were just movie magic, velociraptors continue to captivate imaginations on April 18th every year. Raptors, unlike those in films, did not stand over 7 feet tall. They were roughly 6.5 feet long and measured less than 2 feet high at the hip, but they did have some frightening hips. They also had feathers and wings. In reality, they sort of resembled turkey dinosaurs. Still, the filmmakers were onto something. That's because production of Jurassic Park began before 1991, the discovery of so-called raptor skeleton measuring 5.5 feet tall, the largest at the time. Said one film designer, we designed it, we built it, and then discovered it. That still boggles my mind. Velociraptors roam the Earth around 85.8 million to 70.6 million years ago during the end of Cretaceous period. The name Velociraptor was bestowed upon the dinosaur in 1924 by the president of the American Museum of Natural History, Henry Fairfield Osborn. The name has Latin origins, velox meaning swift and raptor meaning plunderer. Earlier in the same year, the dinosaur was referred to as Oviraptor datyori in an article, but the name was never mentioned in a scientific journal. So Velociraptor became the accepted name. Today is also commemorated a National Pinata Day in Mexico. The origins of the pinata may be traced back to 13th century. The Chinese created pinatas for their New Year festivities to bring good fortune to the growing season. They were usually fashioned like cows or oxen and ornamented with vivid colors and ribbons and were brimming with seeds. The Chinese burned the remnants of the pinata and stored the ashes for good luck after it was shut. Today is also commemorated as National Newspaper Columnist Day in US. This day aims to honor the work of columnists. A columnist is a person who produces written works to be published in a series, generally offering commentary and opinions on current events or topics such as love, relationships, careers, etc. Columnists have different personalities, which is demonstrated in their written work. Some columnists lighten the mood to play the role of their flavor or humor or satire. Others provide different perspectives and hard facts based on solid research. Whatever their personality or style, each columnist had work connects them to people. So the National Society of Newspaper Columnists, founded in 1977, created National Newspaper Columnist Day. It was established on April 18th in the memory of the day columnist. Ernie File was killed in the World War II in 1945. He was a Pulitzer Prize winning American journalist and the war correspondent best known for his stories about American soldiers during the World War II. He wrote for the Scripps Howard newspaper syndicate as a roving human interest reporter from 1935 to 1941. This earned him wide acclaim for his simple accounts of ordinary people across North America. He lent the same distinctive folky style of his human interest stories to his wartime reports from the European theater and the Pacific theater when the United States entered World War II. So in 1994, Pyle won the Pulitzer Prize for his newspaper accounts of dog-faced infantry soldiers from a list of person perspective. He was killed during the Battle of Okinawa by enemy fire on Lejima, Japan. So the purpose of this day is to appreciate the dangerous work journalists do to bring information to people. They are also in charge of creating public opinion, keeping people in power accountable, and bringing to light important stories. The day is especially dedicated to journalists and columnists around the world. They work in dangerous situations with the single purpose of uncovering the truth for the benefit of society. Today is also commemorated as National Hi-Fi Day in US. Today, people everywhere use it to mean congratulations or great job. We are still quite nostalgic for the low five, of course, which may have originated back in 1920s. Today is commemorated as National Exercise Day in US. It is a day to encourage everyone to participate in physical activities. Exercise enhances our general health by giving us more energy, making us feel better, and even extending our lives by years. Regular physical activity and exercise have several health benefits that are impossible to overlook. Everyone, regardless of age, gender, and physical ability, benefits from exercise. Unfortunately, despite how important exercising is, only a few individuals are dedicated to it. National Exercise Day is the day to encourage, motivate people to exercise with the aim that it will be start of a new habit for everyone. Today is also commemorated as National Auctioneers Day in US. In honor of auctioneers and the practice of auctioning, this day is celebrated on third Thursday of April. So this year on April 18th. This is an initiative of National Auctioneers Association, has been celebrated since 1996. The word auction is derived from the Latin word auctum, which translates to I increase. An auction is a process of conducting open market trading in which the buyers place bid over auctioned commodity and the highest bidder takes the prize home. Conducting an auction is a tough gig, which is made worse by unserious bidders and occasional hecklers. Today is also commemorated as National Animal Cracker Day in US. Who among us can resist the temptation to indulge in a handful of these iconic treats of our childhood? These are, especially the biscuits in the form of animals and birds, which we have seen in our childhood. So, as we celebrate National Animal Cracker Day on April 18th, animal crackers are arguably one of the best recognized food products on the planet today. Who knew that little menagerie of zoo and circus creatures that delighted us as children would later become one of our fondest childhood memories and a simple guilty pleasure for us as adults? Animal crackers have been part of American childhood memories since the late 1800s when they were first imported from England, where animal crackers were invented. When recipes for the popular animal shaped biscuits made their way to America, independent bakers began baking up heads of animals to meet growing demand. The stampede of animal crackers out of grocery cracker barrels into America shopping baskets was well underway when Stouffer's Biscuit Company began commercially producing their original recipe, circus crackers, in 1871. Stouffer's unique baking process created a slightly sweet, crispy, cracker like biscuit that dominated the growing animal cracker category for years. Then, in 1992, the big competition arrived that transformed the animal cracker industry forever. When the National Biscuit Company, Nabisco, introduced their brand of animal crackers packaged in small boxes that looked like P.T. Barnum circus train cars, they quickly became the most popular brand of animal crackers in America. Their ingenious circus train themed packages were initially sold as Christmas tree ornaments. These colorful boxes sporting exotic animals in circus train cars with a string of hanging on the tree were an immediate hit with the children who begged for boxes of animals to carry around by a string. When all animals in a box had been devoured, children filled the circus car boxes with childhood treasures, creating an unexpected shelf life extension and bonus marketing for the Barnum's Animals brand. But not all animal crackers are created equal, and despite the popularity and fast ascension of Nabisco's Barnum's Animals to the iconic childhood cookie, many people still prefer the original Stauffer Animals crackers recipe. The difference in texture and flavor between the two brands is distinctive, and there remains a continued strong market for both brands of animal crackers to this day. Today is also commemorated as Lineman Appreciation Day in US, which this day honors the hard work that women and men put in to keep the power on. These people work round the clock to provide light to family households and any other premises. Line workers are truly dedicated since they have to climb hundreds of feet above the ground with precarious harnesses. They also handle the live wires that, improperly handled, can easily lead to them losing their lives in massive jolts of electricity while simultaneously blacking out entire sections of the city. National Lineman Appreciation Day honors these men and women who put their lives at risk to keep the power running through our communities. Today is also commemorated as International Pizza Cake Day, which is annually celebrated on the third Thursday in April. Some people probably wonder, is pizza cake a cake that looks like a pizza, or is it a pizza in the shape of cake? Well, it can be both, but the one we are here for today is a later to celebrate Will you make a pizza cake from scratch or just order some pizza boxes and stack up them to form a cake? The day is for you to celebrate with whatever pizza cake you see fit in your belly. Pizza cake was first created many years ago by chef Francois Gundermiax, but it seemed to be a cake that looked like pizza, not a pizza. Meanwhile, the pizza cake here was invented in 2014 by Boston Pizza, a Canadian based pizza chain. The pizza cake was part of Boston Pizza promotion called Pizza Game Changers, featuring numerous outlandish pizza related products. Today is also commemorated as International Jugglers Day. This day honors the art of juggling. It may accomplish the practitioners if you are looking for a way to have fun with various things. You might consider learning how to juggle them. Toss juggling is most well-known kind of juggling. Juggling may be done with one or more hands, and one can do it with one or several items at a time. Many jugglers refer to the things they juggle as props. Props like balls, clubs, and rings are quite prevalent. Knives and flaming torches and chainsaws are some of the most dramatic props used by jugglers. The first known representation of juggling was discovered in the Ben Hassan tombs of the ancient Egyptian civilization, Middle Dynasty. Inside one of the crypt's murals, depictions of lady jugglers were found amid acrobats and dancers. The art was created around 2000 BC after the Beni Hassan tombs. There is a 15-year-old hiatus until evidence of juggling returns in Greek art. There was a lot of misunderstanding between American and Asian Indians. Many Europeans contributed to the confusion by claiming to be from China, Japan, or India. Karl Repo, a German performer who described himself as an Indian and did exotic maneuvers and feats of strength with iron balls, was one such artist. The Burmese monk Toon, who worked only with his feet and got excellent praise across Europe, was one for the real Asian entertainers. In 1870, the first authentic Japanese troops arrived in the West, led by juggler Avatar Katsonin, who practiced traditional Japanese ball and stick play, from which contemporary ball manipulation originated. The International Jugglers Association founded International Jugglers Day in the mid 1980s. Today is also commemorated as International Day for Monuments and Sites, which is observed on April 18th all over the world every year. The goal is to raise awareness of the cultural heritage, diversity, the vulnerability of sites and monuments, and the measures needed to maintain and conserve them. Every year, the International Council of Monuments and Sites, in short known as ICOMOS, sets a theme for initiatives organized by its members, national and international committees, and anyone else interested in commemorating this day. The organization invites participants to focus on contentious and complex narratives about cultural heritage to encourage development of new discourses based on a respectful and inclusive approach. Addressing erroneous or conscientious historical interpretations appear to be critical to preserving our heritage. Given the deterioration or extinction of any cultural property, as stated by the UNESCO 1954 and 1972 treaties, causes harm to mankind as a whole. The International Day for Monuments and Sites was developed by ICOMOS in 1982 and was later adopted by UNESCO during its 22nd conference. ICOMOS suggests a theme for activities to be arranged by its members, and ICOMOS national and international scientific committees, working groups, and partners, as well as anybody else who want to participate in commemorating the day. Cultural heritage conservation necessitates both a critical evaluation of the past and commitment of the future. In recent years, debates concerning the deletion and erasure of some narratives, as well as prioritization of certain stories over others, have heated up. As a result, dealing with contentious history necessitates lengthy discussions to avoid skewed perspectives and interpretations of the past. The deterioration or extinction of any item of cultural or national heritage represents a damaging impoverishment of the legacy of all nations of the world. According to the World Heritage Convention in 1972, however, there are still disparities in recognition, interpretation, and ultimately conservation of various cultural manifestations. The first International Day for Monuments and Sites, on the other hand, took place in 2001 with the theme Save Our Historic Villages. Organizations such as United Nations, Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization support the day, that is UNESCO. There are a variety of activities taken all across the world on this day. This comprises a variety of activities as well as conferences and excursions to historical places and monuments. For the uninitiated, a heritage site is essentially a culturally significant location. It protects a society or group's intangible and physical artifacts that has been passed down through the generations. Today is also commemorated as Hung Kings Festival in Vietnam, which is celebrated from day 8 to day 11 of the third lunar month in Vietnam. So this year it takes from April 18th. Even though the festivities go throughout the week, the main festival is a public holiday and of course one celebrated with most energy. People of all ages step out of joy, dance, eat, and also commemorate several cultural customs of Vietnam. This is essential to mark the death anniversary of the Hung Kings, who have a rich history in Vietnam and are recognized as one of the main forces that established the country as a sovereign nation. The 18th generation of kings is responsible for giving the nation a distinct identity and sowing the seeds of patriotism. They ruled the land from 2879 BC to 258 BC. Today is also commemorated as Education and Sharing Day in US. Honored every year on the birthday of leader, which is day 11 of the Nisan of the Jewish calendar, we get to know that sharing is truly caring. Education goes beyond obtaining a degree to shape a certain career. It cultivates the spirit and develops the character through the collaborative efforts of mentors, educators, family members, scholarship programs, and community leaders. Join us as we pay tribute to the great Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson and his work of more than a century ago for shared education nationwide across borders. Today is also commemorated as College Student Grief Awareness Day in US. Every year, the third Thursday of April is set aside for the National Awareness Day, created to recognize college students, their struggles, and the toll it takes on their mental health. According to the statistics, at least 1 in 5 US college students suffer from grief or depression, considering the constant pressure they face. This day raises awareness of that and encourages conversation on ways to improve the situation. Psychological issues and pathologies haven't always been well understood. Although depressive disorders are very well documented nowadays, college student grief is generally considered a recent development with several distinctions identified. The earliest mention of depression as we understand it today can be traced back to mid-19th century. French psychiatrist Louis La Sieur is far by one of the earliest scholars to study depression as a psychiatric symptom. Throughout the 20th century, the classification of psychological disorders and symptoms saw constant development, evolving into several subclasses. Later on, depression among youths and adolescents started gaining the interest of academics and researchers. So students in particular suffered the most, considering the pressures of academics and in some cases personal grief. As of the late 90s and early 2000s, depression and grief among university students became a more documented issue. Recent studies show that 44% of university students in America suffer grief-related issues, particularly depression. This has inspired many initiatives on the issue. The Actively Moving Forward AMF group began as a student group in 2004 organizing support groups for college students to help them cope up with personal grief and depression. The group has helped over 2,000 students across several universities in the United States. AMF has created College Student and Grief Awareness Day in 2015 to get people talking about the issue. Today is also commemorated as Celebrate Teen Literature Day in US. The day to remind everyone, especially teens, to read. As everyone knows, teenagers are reading less and less with high-tech smartphone and social network usage. Among teens, it's no surprise that their attention of books, this has been trend for a while now. Celebrate Teen Literature Day promotes the love of reading and raises awareness about shrinking number of teens who read for pleasure. Today is also commemorated as Autism Awareness Day, which is observed by autistic adults and their loved ones each year on April 18. Autism, also known as Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD, can be identified as a broad range of conditions that are characterized by challenges pertaining to social skills, repetitive behavior, speech, and nonverbal communication. Statistics show that in the United States, autism affects an estimated 1 in 54 children today. It is important to realize that there's no one type of autism. These conditions are often individualistic adults with autism and also have significant contributions to the fields of arts, commerce, science, and more. The day hopes to make life more convenient for autistic adults, show your support to those who are close to you, and guide them towards resources and are available for them that can help us those in need to expand their horizon. Today is also commemorated as Health Information Professionals Week from April 18 to 24 in US. Before we dive into why of this week, it's important to know who exactly a health information professional is. Just in case there is some confusion, a health information professional or health information manager, HIP or HIM, is a person whose job is to manage all health information and data related to a patient. In order to ensure that everything is accurate, updated, secure, and accessible, they are like a liaison between medical physicians, the patient, and any third party who might require that information. Health information professionals are the most trusted people because they handle so much sensitive information about an individual, so the responsibility on their shoulders is definitely huge. Today is also commemorated as Global Youth Service Days. Global Youth Service Days takes place on the last weekend of April. This year, they take place from April 18 to 20. It is an annual conference of youth volunteers who spend their time and talent on community service and civic action. It seeks to give them a voice and encourage others, youths, to volunteer for community service. It started in the US but has expanded to over 100 countries where young people are groomed as future leaders. Every country is independent on its youth to ensure its future. Every country is dependent on its youth to ensure its future. This is why countries invest heavily in education, but unlike in developed countries where the education sector boosts systems and that thoroughly trains students in leadership, that in developing countries is generally fragile and needs further boost, if not an overall. Observed as National Youth Service Days years ago in the US, these days celebrate the success of international congregation of youth volunteers who have devoted their time and talent to community service. Today is also commemorated as Global Campaign for Education Action Week, which takes place all through the last week in April of every year and usually involves discussions around making formal education more accessible globally. So this year it is observed from April 18 to 24. It is a global campaign led by UNESCO and the top NGOs dedicated to the prioritization of formal education in all the countries of the world where it is yet to reach. The primary goal of this event is the promotion of the global SDG, Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. To observe this day, take action for your education by visiting uh, various sources. You can organize events and also promote and provide education. Education began in prehistoric times as the young were trained by the older ones in knowledge and skills required for their survival. In some civilizations, before the advent of literature, this knowledge was passed orally and through imitation. Storytelling was also a means of passing down the knowledge, values, and skills from one generation to the next. With the advancement and evolution of cultures and knowledge came the development of formal education. Formal education comprises teaching students in a specific and originated manner in a structured environment physically designed for this kind of learning. Formal education usually takes place in a school environment where students sit together in assigned classrooms to learn with a trained, certified teacher. Most school systems are designed according to set values and educational standards for each environment, and this results in things like curriculum, student teacher interactions, methods of assessment, class size, educational activities, and other activities relevant to developing students in an educational capacity. In 1997, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, created the International Standard Classification of Education, in short known as ISCED, to serve the purpose of comparing education systems. The most recent version of ISCED is created in 2011 as 9 levels and has also extended the lowest level, ISCED 0, to cover a subcategory of early childhood educational developmental programs. This week is also commemorated as Fibroid Awareness Week in US. It is a week to show support for all women who suffer from fibroids. The purpose of this commemoration is to raise awareness about a widespread but little discussed health concern that affects 20% to 80% of the women by the age of 50. Fibroids do not affect all women, but those who do may experience pain, pressure on the bladder, frequent urination, or even a bloated abdomen. Age, family history, ethnic origin, obesity, and eating habits such as consuming too much red meat are all risk factors for fibroids. Consuming a lot of green vegetables is linked to lower incidence of fibroids. So consume more leafy vegetables and vegetables to get rid of fibroids. So the muscular region of the uterus is where uterine fibroids originate. They are benign tumors that can cause copious menstrual bleeding, pelvic pain, and painful, irregular, and or protracted menstruation. Pain in the pelvic, abdominal, or lower back areas, as well as frequent urination or constipation, may be experienced by women. Having uterine fibroids can also cause cramping or abdominal distension. Some women have uterine fibroids but don't show any signs or symptoms. Because doctors are unable to determine the exact source of uterine fibroids, understanding them is difficult. What doctors do know is the obesity and a family history of uterine fibroids increase a woman's risk of getting uterine fibroids. A diet that is high in red meat and poor in veggies can also have a role and play a role in fibroids formation. Uterine fibroids affect around 2 lakh people in the United States each year. A pelvic exam is usually the first step, followed by the imaging studies such as ultrasound, MRI, and or saline sonogram. Uterine fibroids are chronic, meaning they can last a lifetime. They may shrink significantly after menopause, but they rarely vanish completely. They can also reappear once they have been removed. Uterine fibroids can be treated in a variety of ways depending on their size and location in a woman's body. Your doctor's treatment plan will most likely be determined by the severity of your uterine fibroids as well as patient's stated goals. Meditation or uterine fibroidectomy are two alternatives for treatment. Your doctor will be most likely want to keep an eye on uterine fibroids to see if they alter or improve. Many women with fibroids have no symptoms, but those who do have a tough time dealing with them. Pelvic pain and heavy monthly bleeding are common symptoms which might lead to anemia or the need for blood transfusion. Bladder pressure resulting in frequent urination. Although uterine fibroids are rarely hazardous, they can cause pain and consequences such as decline in red blood cells, anemia, which causes exhaustion as a result of excessive blood loss. Blood loss may necessitate a transfusion on rare occasions. Certain foods can aggravate or increase fibroids. Avoid processed foods, red meats, and high fat dairy products. Fibroids can be aggravated by eating certain foods according to the studies, and the same can be said for even caffeine, alcohol, and tobacco consumption. So, Fibroid Awareness Week aims to encourage more study and funding for this widespread but little known disorder. A campaign to raise awareness about the uterine fibroids, a disorder that affects millions of women all over the world. Because of the excessive bleeding associated with fibroids, most women do not prefer to wear white. The white garments movement is more than a fashion statement. It is a symbol of hope and strength for women living from fibroids, as well as reminder that we will discover a treatment. You may prevent fibroids from forming by educating yourself and those around you, as well as raising awareness for other women with fibroids. Even for individuals who are aware of the problem, awareness and education are still required. So attend events like this online and offline to gain more information about the fibroids. Hormones have the ability to alter fibroid growth. Fibroids also diminish or disappear during menopause when women have less estrogen or progesterone in their bodies. Some women are unaware that they have fibroids until they are identified during a normal gynecological exam. While there is some evidence that fibroids run in families, they also appear to grow and shrink as a result of specific lifestyle variables. Fibroids in the uterus can grow very slowly or very quickly. It is possible that they will stay the same size for years. So the development patterns might be different. One of the signs is menstrual bleeding that is heavy or protracted is a sign of uterine fibroids. Fibroids become worse as time passes. The fibroids can continue to develop in size and number if left untreated. The symptoms will worsen when the tumors take over the uteruses. The main reason for that is that fibroids deform the uterine cavity, making it most difficult for pregnancy to adhere to the uterus. In the end, while fibroids may play a role in infertility, in some women, other causes are more common. So finally, today, the last commemoration of the day is Cleaning for a Reason Week in US. If you are searching for a philanthropic cause in cleaning profession, consider participating in Cleaning for a Reason Week, which runs from April 18 to 24. This week-long philanthropic event seeks to generate cash and promote awareness of its goal to grow its recruiting efforts in collaborating with home cleaning firms, find and reach more cancer patients, and to develop new fundraising initiatives with ISSA member companies. Cleaning for a Reason is a non-profit organization that offers free house cleaning services to cancer sufferers. Debbie Sardo, an American businesswoman whose mother is a cancer survivor, started it. Since its inception in 2006, Cleaning for a Reason has provided free house cleaning services with more than $14 million to over 43,000 cancer families. The Cleaning for a Reason network includes over 1,200 maid services. Debbie Sardone founded the group after receiving a phone call from a lady going through chemotherapy. She asked about her house cleaning services but was unable to pay because she was out of work owing to her cancer treatment. It is because of that woman that Sardone never got the help, the only who motivated her to form the foundation. Every month, Cleaning for a Reason receives over 1,400 service requests. If partners with business around the country and in Canada give cancer sufferers one complimentary cleaning every month for 4 months, while the firms which are required to be insured and undertake background checks on their personnel do not change the ladies for their services, their employees are compensated. So for individuals living in United States or Canada, Cleaning for a Reason partners provide 2 monthly professional cleanings per matched patient. Any man, woman, or kid receiving active cancer treatment or hospice care is eligible for free services. Residential cleaning firms are urged to become partners and provide these services for cancer patients in their areas during the Cleaning for a Reason week. So there are a lot of facts about the cleaning. It burns calories. Cleaning for 2 hours can burn 200 calories. Most antibacterial cleaners require 30 to 60 seconds of contact time before washing away. So kitchen sinks, according to a study, hold more germs than a toilet. Lemons contain antibacterial qualities which assist to sanitize surfaces, so clean with lemons. Dust is made up of 70 to 80% of dead human skin and dust mites, and made up of 20% to 30% of threadbare fibers from clothing, towels, and bedding, as well as items brought in by the footwear. It raises the awareness of free service among cancer-stricken women. If you work for a healthcare organization, you may educate healthcare practitioners about free house cleaning so that they can pass the information on to their patients. Professional cleaners are specialists when it comes to safeguarding and maintaining our houses livable while we go about our daily lives, particularly for cancer patients. So it is with great pleasure that we join in their celebrations. Because clean surroundings are connected to greater health, productivity, and mental wellness, Cleaning for a Reason week allows professional cleaners to experiment with different cleaning methods to reap these incredible advantages. Regular cleaning not only helps to prevent the spread of fatal diseases and the development of germs, but it also helps to de-stress and avoid accidents. So finally, today, as we are commemorating World Amateur Radio, so we have an organization, National Institute of Amateur Radio in India, which is a non-government organization founded by Mr. S. Suri with the call sign VU2MY at Hyderabad. It was registered as a public society on 21st June 1983. Encouraged by the government of India, several state governments and World Bank, etc., NIAR, which is National Institute of Amateur Radio, is established to spread the awareness of amateur radio activity among the people in India. NIAR has its office, library, lab, museum, club station, conference hall, classrooms, QSL bureau, guest house facilities, along with staff quarters in its campus. All the activities are organized from a very well established, eco friendly, spacious buildings owned by NIAR in the heart of the city of Hyderabad. NIAR conducts awareness and training programs for the amateur station operator license examination regularly. NIAR conducts seminars, meetings, workshops regularly. NIAR has a full-fledged club station with the call sign VU2NRO in its premises, which is active regularly. Its members have received many awards for achievements for participating in contests from this station. Special call signs are being used from here from time to time also. NIAR assists schools, colleges, institutions, individuals, etc. to form their own amateur radio clubs. NIAR conducts an expedition to the rare Andaman and Nicobar Islands, VU4, and Lakshadweep Islands, VU7, from time to time. The Radio Amateur Civil Engineering Service, in short known as RACES, wing of NIAR, is ready with equipment and manpower who volunteer to assist the local administration in any kind of emergency, natural or man-made calamities and disasters. The technical wing of the institute encourage volunteers, amateurs in construct their own homemade transceivers, power supply antennas, etc. NIAR regularly publishes ham news and also study material, brochures, etc. NIAR is regularly publishes ham news and also study material, brochures, etc., which is useful in preparation for the exams and licensing, and also provides updates. NIAR is active in its website, Yahoo groups, Facebook to convey messages to its members and others. NIAR has sponsored many members to several international meetings, conferences, conventions, seminars. NIAR interact with government agencies from promotion of amateur radio in India. The electronic media and the press has been quoting APARS and NIAR activities extensively. Several prominent leaders, eminent persons, and HAMS people, all walks of life from India abroad, have visited NIAR and appreciated its activities. A people movement in the information technology is launched by NIAR. So for further information, you can visit NIAR website. So with this, we shall conclude the commemorations for the day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Take care. Good night. And we'll be starting International Conference on Psychology from 21st, that is Sunday. So we request everyone to quickly register and for presentations and participation, and also kindly support the event by sharing this information with all your friends and colleagues. So before leaving the platform, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which has been shared in the form of Zoom polls. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.